This video contains spoilers for the following. You have been warned. You know, it's pretty obvious when you think about it. I mean, both series feature a city flooded in the ocean in their first episodes. Clear evidence that Evangelion is nothing more than an Ultraman ripoff. All jokes aside, it's been common for people to say Neon Genesis Evangelion is Hideaki Anno's Ultraman, before he wrote and produced Shin Ultraman. Not that one either. Although there's a good reason for that, as Evangelion creator Hideaki Anno blatantly shows his otaku-ness and love for the Ultraman franchise in both Neon Genesis and the rebuilds. From little Easter eggs like Masato's ringtone in the Rebuild movies, or to him straight up remaking shots from Akio Jisoji's directed episodes in Ultraman. While I can sit here and point to every reference Evangelion made to Ultraman, I want to focus on one series in particular. The reason why is that even though the Ultraman franchise as a whole has served as an inspiration for Eva, I believe 1974's Ultraman Leo served as a prototype of sorts for the series, hence the title of this video. If you know anything about Eva, you know that it ain't exactly the most lighthearted series. But the Ultraman franchise, particularly ones made in the Showa era for this video, is known for its more lighthearted adventures, optimistic attitude, and hopeful outlook. That's not to say that each series doesn't have their own darker or more serious moments or episodes, but most of the time they aren't what most people would define those series as a whole. This is where our boy Leo comes in. See, the previous series, Taro, was aimed towards the younger demographic with its overall fun vibe. But in doing so, Tsuburaya Productions, the studio behind Ultraman, sort of alienated their older audience. So the studio took a hard 180 and pushed for a more darker series. Well, for at least half of the episodes. Despite some episodes being a tonal slap in the face, Leo is widely considered to be a darker series than its predecessors. This is actually where we get our first comparison between Leo and Eva. Their similar, darker, and sometimes more serious tone. Let's take a look at the first episode of each series. In episode 1 of Eva, we see the military be absolutely destroyed by the Third Angel Sachiel, with at least one soldier piloting an aircraft shown to be directly destroyed by the Angel as his audio cuts out. Then later in the episode, Shinji is guilted into piloting Unit 1 by seeing a very injured Rei being transported towards the unit's cockpit. If Rei were to pilot, she would have no doubt died in the conflict. Let's compare this to Leo's first episode. For a little background, the Ultraman franchise is known for their defense teams, like the Science Patrol. Leo is no different as it features the defense team MAC, which stands for Monster Attacking Crew, not for a laptop created by a giant tech company. What makes MAC stand out from the previous teams, though, is that they're really good at dying. Death in itself is no stranger to the Ultraman franchise, but members of a defense team dying was practically non-existent. But in Leo, a MAC member dying was basically another Tuesday. This was partially due to no one in Mac except for the captain, Dan Moerboshi, who is the human form of the hero Ultra 7, and Gen Otori, who is the human form of Ultraman Leo, got little to no character development. I know what you may be thinking. Military officials or soldiers dying isn't anything unique to either the kaiju genre or the mecha genre. This is where the injured Ray comparison comes in. In the first episode of Leo, we see Ultra 7 fighting against twin kaiju known as the Gyros brothers and their master Alien Magma. Thankfully for 7, Leo was able to save him from a killing blow by Alien Magma. Unfortunately, during the battle, one of the Gyros brothers cripples 7's leg. This would result in Dan having to walk with a crutch and no longer be able to transform into 7 throughout the remainder of the series. It would be because of this critical injury that Dan tells an at first reluctant Gen that he will now have to protect the Earth in 7's place. Sound familiar? Well, the comparisons don't stop there. In fact, let's focus on Gen, as I believe he's a good comparison to Evangelion's protagonist, Shinji Ikari. While they are not one-to-one, heck, on the surface, they appear to be completely different to one another. Gen is an outgoing sports coach with a girlfriend. And Shinji, well, Shinji's a hedgehog. So, how are Shinji and Gen similar? Well, the answer lies within the situations they have to deal with and their actions. I'll give you an example. In episode 10 of Leo, our hero must fight the kaiju Ron, not the one from the park. What makes Ron different from other kaiju is that Ron used to be Leo's pet back on their home planet L77 before it was destroyed by alien magma. Unfortunately, Ron has become a giant monster that was now on a rampage on Earth. When Leo recognized the kaiju to be his former friend, he was unable to fight what Ron had become. This is not too different from the time Shinji's friend Toji was piloting Eva Unit 3, which became possessed by an angel. Once Shinji found out it was Toji, Shinji refused to fight him, even if it meant he'll die doing so. Another example comes down to our characters being indecisive. Shinji is infamously known for his indecisiveness, which results in others getting hurt. Or worse. Well, we have an example of that happening with Gen. In episode 6 of Ultraman Leo, Gen was entrusted to protect the girlfriend of fellow MAC member Shiro, but not too long after, Alien Carly ambushes them and grows giant. While the girlfriend ran, Gen is constantly standing in a martial arts pose looking so confused as what to do. He didn't even grab his gun and shoot the alien to divert his attention. This results in the girlfriend being stepped on by Alien Carly. And it's only after that does Gen transform into Leo and fight her now killer. And fail. Shiro lets Gen know how disappointed he was. In fact, this is not too dissimilar to when Toji criticized Shinji's first fight with an angel that resulted in Toji's sister being injured. I'm starting to sense a pattern. While there are more examples I can make for Gen and Shinji, I want to shift to another notable character from Leo, and that is Dan Moerboshi. Like I mentioned earlier, Dan was the captain of MAC and the hero Ultra 7. Now, I bet some people may think I'm going to compare Dan to Gendo, for reasons. But I don't think that's accurate, as Gendo didn't want much to do with Shinji other than wanting Shinji to get in the damn robot. I honestly think a better comparison is Masato. Like Shinji and Gen, Dan and Masato have some significant differences. Dan is a big fan of mistreating their mentee, but Masato, on the other hand, prefers okay, maybe they're more similar than I thought. But seriously, they are different characters with their own complexities. Heck, I could honestly do a video for each of them just to break down their characters. However, I'm not going to focus on their characters too much, but rather the roles they play. While they're both leaders of their respective teams, I want to talk about how they both serve as mentors. More specifically, how similar they are to their mentees and the relationships they develop with the protagonists. Let's start with Masato. In the show, we find out she is someone who struggles with loneliness and opening up, just like Shinji. Of course, how she copes with it is much different. The struggles, though, are still very similar. Also, like Shinji, Masato has some daddy issues. This impacts the relationship she develops with Shinji, for she sees a little bit of herself in him. Ultimately, Masato wants to see Shinji live his best life, but Masato also has a job to do and has to make sure Shinji can save the world, which leads to plenty of conflicts between the two. Now let's take a look at Dan. Just like Gen, Dan is an alien who has made Earth his home disguised as a human. Unlike Gen, though, Dan never lost his home planet, but is currently stuck on Earth thanks to that leg injury. Still, the two share a similar feeling of isolation that only they would know, as they have to keep their alien identities a secret from their earthly friends. Ultimately, Dan wants to see Gen live his life on Earth, but Dan also has a job to do and has to make sure Gen can save the world, which leads to many conflicts between the two. Does anyone else feel a sense of deja vu? One last comparison I want to make is that both shows also take time to focus on mental health, specifically the mental health of our characters. Evangelion is pretty well known for this, showing its characters going through anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. This was reflective of Anno's own mental health when he was working on the original show. Leo, while known for being one of the darker Ultra series, is not widely known for dealing with mental health. But surprisingly, it does. Granted, the show was made in the 70s, so there are some things that haven't aged quite as well. Leo does, at the very least, take mental health seriously. It's probably reflective of the financial issues Tsuburai's team and Japan as a whole had to face thanks to the 1973 oil crisis. I think one of the best examples of this is the character Toru in episode 49. Toru is a child that Gen looks out for and is one of the recurring characters in Leo. Also, Toru is probably the one character that goes through the most emotional trauma in the series, even more so than Gen, as by the time of this episode, he has become the only survivor of his family. In the episode, Toru is dealing with the grief from losing his family, which causes him to lash out and isolate himself from his new adoptive family. This leads to the saucer monster Nova to manipulate Toru into taking it around the city, spreading its toxic gas. Nova does this by taking advantage of Toru's grief, making Toru believe it will reunite him with his deceased family. It's only when Toru's new adoptive mother opens up to him and opens her arms up to embrace him that Toru starts to break loose from Nova's control. However, Nova in return starts to choke Toru, tightening its grip around the boy. This could be interpreted as symbolism for how destructive mental illness can be, not only to you, but to those around you. The reason I think it works as symbolism is because Nova doesn't cause the mental illness, but rather takes advantage of the mental illness Toru was already dealing with. This is loosely similar to how, in later episodes of Evangelion, the angels started to psychologically attack the protagonists, most prominently Asuka, who was driven to a self-destructive depression. It also didn't help that because of her growing self-doubt and depression, her sync rate was continuously dropping, which dragged the entire team down. Overall, the point of me making this video is not me telling you how Evangelion ripped off Leo, because for each similarity between the two, there's something that's completely different. At the same time, I think it's awesome to look back on the works that inspired Evangelion and see, in my opinion, how Leo was able to set the framework for what Anno wanted to achieve in his Neon Genesis. If you're an Eva fan who has yet to watch Ultraman, not just Leo but any Ultraman, I definitely recommend you check these shows out. Just be prepared for the occasional silly moment here or there. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my video. Hopefully this is the first of many to come on this channel. If you're new here, which, judging by my subscriber count, you are, I would really appreciate it if you click on the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification and give me a like maybe, I don't know. But I would also, more importantly, would appreciate a comment. Tell me what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. I do have plenty of videos planned out for this channel, and I can't wait to share them to you. Also, make sure to check out my podcast if you just want something to listen to in the background. Anyway, that's it from me. Hopefully I get to see you guys in the next video. Take care and shoo watch!